Welcome into the CHGO Blackhawks Podcast. Happy Friday. I'm Jay Zawaski with Greg Boysen. Law is here as well, running the show as always. And if you're watching us on YouTube, you see we have a special guest with us. It is former Blackhawk Brendan Perlini. We're going to get to him in 1 second. But first, while you're here, do us a favor and smash that like button. Subscribe to the YouTube page as well. And if you're listening on the podcast apps, we love you too. Make sure you are subscribed, following, and leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. But when you're done doing that, you're going to want to head over to Brendan's YouTube page too, which is youtube.com/@BUBZP11 and subscribe there. Brendan, thanks for being with us, man. We appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem, guys. Thanks for having me. I know how tough an intro is like that, so I appreciate a good intro now. Now that I'm in the YouTube space, I appreciate a good intro.
Well, you popped up in our feed with your story about Jonathan Taves. It's a guy who, I mean, our first 2 years at this network, we talked about a ton, and he just sort of has disappeared into the ether. So it's cool to hear good stories about him again. But before we get into those sort of things, like what inspired you to start this YouTube page? It's a lot of hockey. It's a lot of golf. You're always wearing wrestling shirts. Like what inspired you to get started in this, in this world?
You know what? I actually messed up, man. I put the Blackhawks one on, but I should have worn my punk one again. I have another one. I have a couple of his. But, yeah, you know what? I guess to answer your question, like, I watch a lot of YouTube. That's my main kind of, I guess, TV in a way. And, like, when we're on the road and stuff, it's so easy, right, on your phone when you're on the bus or iPad or whatever. And I've been following guys like Rick Shields, like big, golf influencer, YouTuber, or whatever, for a long time, at least the last couple of years. Like me and my brother have like watched a lot of like him, Micah Morris, like a lot of like the golfing YouTubers. And we play with some really cool people. We get to play at cool courses. And I was like, you know what, man, like I can do this stuff. And like, I feel like I got a good enough personality to kind of like, tell my story and whatnot. And so I just started. Last year after the season, I had like a little more time on my hands, and I just kind of it came into my head where I'm like, you know what, like let me just get a camera and let's like can't be that hard. And come to find out, obviously it's a lot harder than what I originally thought. I thought you just stick a camera there and didn't know anything about angles or setup or talking to the camera, talking to the people behind the camera. Like so there's a lot that actually goes into it, and I kind of actually got a bit discouraged like doing it because I felt like it was a lot. I felt like it was a lot to like cut and edit a video. And I've always, like, me and my brother have been very, very good. We make stupid videos growing up, like all the time, like doing wrestling moves and stuff back in the day on the trampoline. Like we always used to do like stupid stuff. And, it was a lot more than what I thought it was. So I went away for a while. And then this past season, we got into like November, early December. And, I just needed something to do on the road again, man. And that's when I kind of was like, you know what, let me get into like, I had a ton of like unused stuff, like unused clips and stuff that I'm like, oh, let me just start like cutting and editing some things. I started making reels. Like, I got like inspired a little bit by that. And then that just went into the next thing and then the next thing. And then, funny enough, like the hockey side of things, and sorry if I'm going on and on, but the hockey side of things got inspired because at first it was going to, like, the channel's name was called Good Vibes Golf, and it was just going to be all golf stuff. And then I seen the wrestler Maven, and he did, he does, his channel is like all behind the scenes WWE, and, this is how much we get paid, this is what we would do on the road, and I'm like, man, another one, like I can do that. Like people would want to know like behind the scenes NHL, and it kind of just went from there. And I'm not gonna lie, I really had to like get rid of my ego and like, because I was flip-flopping a lot with like, oh, are guys gonna like this, or guys not gonna like this?
Yeah.
And then I finally, like, I don't know if you can swear on the show or not. Um,
Go for it.
yeah.
Cock,
Well,
balls,
finally, I
whatever.
was just like, you know what? Fuck that, man. Like, I completely got rid of my ego, and I was like, I'm just gonna go for it. I'm gonna tell stories, and all from a like positive perspective. I'm not gonna like bury guys. Like even in my first video, I said with Mike Smith, I didn't get along with him at first, but I told why and where it kind of went and how we became friends. Later on. I'm not out to get anyone or anything like that, but just my experiences behind the scenes and what like really goes on, I think would shock people. So that's kind of been the last 6 months, and then now it's been really cool to see this kind of all pay off. And man, I think the last time I checked, like I had like 220,000 people see my first hockey video, which is like my hometown in Sault Ste. Marie is 70,000 people, so I like tripled that, and I was like a whole city, 3 times over has watched the video. It was just crazy. Just crazy to think. So, yeah, sorry if I was going
No,
on there.
that's cool. And I think what people appreciate about it, especially the hockey stuff, is like hockey players are so guarded and they're so worried about like making it about themselves and this sort of thing. Like you told the story about Duncan Keith. I've covered Duncan Keith for his entire career, and I never knew that about him. That he had I'll let you tell the story a little bit here in a second, but like that he had a closet full of sticks and skates and was this huge equipment buff. Like guys are so guarded and keep their personal lives so private in hockey that hockey fans are thirsty for it. And yeah, like you came out and said what you said about Mike Smith, and it wasn't unfair. It was just, here's why at first I didn't really dig it, and then I figured him out. And now we're buds. Like you're not trying to make headlines or anything like that. So
No, yeah,
I think,
exactly.
yeah, more of that stuff is great, man. I think people will eat it up.
Yeah, and that's it's really like for me, like I guess you see a lot of different sides. Like at first the idea, I when I come to terms and was like, okay, I'm gonna do this or whatever. Like this is just like a hobby in a way for me. It's something to do away from the arena, and something that I have a lot of fun just like working towards something, and feel like I have meaning in my life outside the rink. And sometimes, man, I'm not gonna lie, like hockey players or just sports athletes in general, like we think that's our end all be all, and this has really given me like a new sort of thing to work at every day, which has been great. And like I just went through a period, I think, in my life too, like the last few years, where it was just like, I was in the NHL, then I'm out of the NHL, and it's like, how do I get back? How do I get back? Like, who's going to give me opportunity? You just go like down this hole where it's like you're chasing something, and you become so consumed by it. And to me, like this has been the best thing ever to happen, to just give me fun away from the arena, like I said, and tell some stories of. Sorry about that, guys. I don't know who's honking horns over there, but yeah. So that's kind of the whole sort of basis of it. Yeah.
Well, should we start with the Duncan Keith or the Jonathan Toews story? I mean, that's the. I mean, I guess we got to go right to the hat trick story. I mean, that had to be an incredible night. Not only you score your NHL hat trick, but you do it against a team that just traded you like 3 months prior.
Yeah.
So that had to be that had to be the cherry on the top of the sundae there. After little revenge, but for those that didn't get to see, you tell you the story. Just let us know about like what that night was and how Jonathan Toews played a role in making sure you got that third goal.
Yeah, man. It's and you know what? I seriously, I swear to God, I thought of that like we were filming that, and I thought of that story like as I was talking, I guess, about Taser. Like I don't even think I really comprehended what kind of went on with that. And let me explain. Like, I think there's just, playing your old team for the first time, there's a lot of emotion in that. Started the game well, had a couple good chances, scored in the first period, scored in the second period. had another really good chance. Like early in the third, I had a breakaway that I shot it, hit the goalie's like blocker, hit the post, sat on the line. Honestly, I should have had about 5 that night. And I thought, like, the game kept going and going, and I'm like, shit, like, I did sort of think like it wasn't almost meant to be of the hat trick. Just because I had some really close ones like that. Like, I'm not kidding you, that one, it was on the line. I wish we could bring up a clip of it. And so, yeah, it was just, you get thrown out. Usually, like, you can just kind of tell, like, the last few minutes. Like, I was playing a little bit. We were up, like, 6 or 7-1 or something at that point. And I think Taser had scored, maybe to make it 6-1 on, like, a penalty shot or something. And then, it just kind of, like, the last 5 minutes or whatever. Like, the other team just wants to get out of there. We kind of almost just want to get out. And, I had a shift with about 2 minutes left, came off with about a minute. And then, like, I swear to God, like, this didn't even really hit me until, and when did that happen? That was March of 19. So we're 5 years post that, man. And it just like came into my head now while we were telling the story of like, man, Taser did that for me, which was so cool. Basically, it came off with about a minute left after just spending a minute on the ice. So I thought that's it. I'm done. They're going to throw whoever out there. That's it. And I heard when I came right off, there was like a whistle or something. And Taser had motioned like back like this, like he was, not talking directly. It was Colleton, right? He was not talking directly, like, one-on-one face to him, but he was talking basically to him, right? Like turning around and saying, "Hey, 11's going back out there," right? And I think he said it again, and he like looked at him and gave him the look of like, "Get this guy the fuck back out there." And then like you could tell he was like, "Oh, like." Of anything Taser, Kaner, or Dunks, or Seabrook, said was just, especially at that time, it's like, you're not going to argue with him, right? So right away, Perls, get back out there. So I go back out, and, even like during the shift, I think I had a shot. They were like really trying to force it to me. Puck gets flipped out, and we're like, oh, that's it. It's 10 seconds left. And I remember this on the ice too. I was skating back, like winding up in our zone, and freaking Connor Murphy was going to just kill the time. Like he was like doing the old like back up, like, and then just hold it, waste like the 10 seconds, And I remember like winding the zone, and I'm like, go, like I was saying, get the thing off the ice. And so he ends up like, making some sort of pass up the ice. It kind of gets tipped and deflected. I forget who tipped it. And then DeBrincat was like right over the guy, boom, picked his stick. And I just tried to go back door, and he slid it over. And then I almost missed the damn thing. It was like wide open cage, and I went to poke it, just got it, and it went in with, 2 seconds left or something. But what a cool moment, man. Like I said, like it took me almost like 4 or 5 years to think about that and be like, man, Taser really did that for me, just because of the high of the night too of, you're thinking about the hat trick, you're thinking about all these kind of, cool things. You scored against a old team, first time playing them. Like, so, thinking back on that, like Taser's the best, man. He's such a good guy. Like that's just the easiest way to describe him. He's the best, like, leader and captain. And, man, I would do anything for that guy.
Well, you helped pad Murph's stats because you got credit for the secondary assists on that third goal.
Yeah.
So you did him a favor.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because when Jeremy Colleton was hired, as you just mentioned it with Keith and Seabrook and Kane and Taves and all those established guys, like it didn't seem like the right move at the right time. Maybe Colleton is a guy for a team like the current Hawks, maybe, coming up, starting to develop. But what was that dynamic like when a guy basically like peers with Jonathan Taves in terms of age and everything, comes in and tries to lead that locker room? What was that dynamic like?
Yeah, I always thought it was just a different dynamic of like where I was coming from. So I had Dave Tippett my first year, who's like well respected coach across the league. Like nobody's telling him what to do. And then I had Rick Talk, my second and third year. Kind of the same, not really to Tip's level as far as like, the sternness and the look of him. But yeah, you kind of this was my first experience with like a really young coach, because even in junior, I had a guy, Marty Williamson, who, he was around my dad's age, late 50s, 60s. So my first coach was like a real young guy. For me, I've got a video, that'll eventually come out. I'm going to do something on it. But I guess I can't speak for like Taser and those guys of how, like, what their relationship was like with him. But it did feel like, Taser and those guys already kind of ran the team. So it was like, I'm not going to say nobody listened, because it wasn't, it wasn't like that at all, but it was interesting. I don't really know how to put it to you. I guess to use like a word or something. Like, I don't really know how to sort of sum it up, but it was just different. It was different to what I had experienced so far in the NHL with a lot older coaches, and ultimately didn't really work out, did it? So.
No, yeah, I think the opinion of the fan base is that there was like almost contempt and utter disrespect for Colin. And I don't know if that's the truth or not, but how fans like to Zapruder film everything. Like there's this video of Colin in the locker room, and Duncan Keith is just completely not listening to him doing anything. And so people have taken that and ran with, they have no respect for the guy.
Then there was the famous game where Taves took the clipboard away from him in a timeout and started drawing it up himself.
That didn't help.
And you're kind of like, well, that's probably going to be the end of that. And that was one of his last games, if I remember, after that happened. So,
yeah.
I mean, unfortunately, trying to replace a guy like Q on a team full of guys like that, you kind of put the poor guy in a situation to fail.
Yeah. Maybe there was some sort of like, and I wish him all the best too, and hope he's doing well and his family's doing well and stuff. Maybe it was some sort of situation of they thought that, maybe the leadership group could do more of that. That's why they hired a younger guy instead of bringing in a real stern guy and, this is my philosophy and play my way or don't play at all. Because sometimes that can go like a torts or whatever, right? So yeah, I don't know. Luckily, I don't make those decisions, but I really like Stan. Like Stan Bowman, always liked me and obviously traded for me and stuff. And when the coach wasn't really fighting for me, Stan always had my back. So shout out to him too. I really enjoyed my time with him and wish him all the best.
We talked about the locker room dynamic, and last 2 years now, and then it finished off this past year. Kyle Davidson made the tough decision we're going to move on from the Kane and Taves era. We're going to try and do something. And his reasoning made sense of kind of like, hey, we've got young guys coming in. We kind of want to get them to establish their own leadership. We've had guys Alex Vlasic admitted to us last year saying like his first time coming in and seeing those guys, he almost felt like he had to walk on eggshells because like they're so established and great players. You don't want to upset them or do something wrong in front of them. Did you talk about, you were still a pretty young player at the time coming in, and then you walk in your first day and there's Kane and Keith and Seabrook and Taves and like 3-time cup winners, all going to be Hall of Famers. Was there any kind of that like, man, I got to, I don't want to say intimidation, but more of just like, I got to watch what I do around here, or was it an easy transition to fit right in?
Yeah, man. I mean, you know what? At that point, I had been 3 years in the league, so I kind of knew what to expect and whatnot. And, we had a bunch of good players out in Arizona, too. And, like, my first year, obviously, Shane Doan was still playing, so that was his last year. And I played with him on a line. And there's, like, no better guy to – like, him and Taser are, like, the best. And Doner's different. Like, he's more – like Taser, obviously, his nickname Captain Serious or whatever. Like, he's just got more of that, like, kind of sternness, like, look to him. But Doner is, like, almost, like, happy-go-lucky, kind of, like, always really, like, happy, joking around, like, very, very light. But they're both lead, like, by example, like, the best I've ever seen. And so I think like you need guys around that, right? Like I guess if you look at them now, they got Foligno, they had some, they had some older good guys there, and that's what you need. You need good pros, man, because like you see it sometimes, dude, in the minors and stuff. I ain't gonna lie, where like you kind of have young guys, and it's I don't like to use this like phrase, I guess, but sometimes like guys almost feel like they can get away with stuff of like like showing up late or kind of fucking around during practice. And if you have those guys there, like you ain't gonna do that, like you're gonna be on it. And it just starts like with habits, right? Like if you maybe show up late once, you're like, you know what, nobody really fucking gave me shit about that, so then you kind of do it again and then again. And so like that's where the good older guys come in, and they boom nip something in the butt right away and are like, hey, the fuck you doing showing up that late, so yeah, that's where good older pros kind of come in. And like for me, I'm like, if I had it any other way to pick whether I play with those guys or didn't, like I'm so blessed to play with all those guys and be able to call them friends. And play with Dunks twice, once in Chicago, once in Edmonton. Edmonton was almost even cooler with him because he didn't really know anyone on the team there. Obviously he's coming from Chicago where he's been for the last 15 or however many years. And so it was me and Kooks, Slater Cuckoo, and he kind of almost leaned on us a bit of like, hey, what are you guys doing after sort of thing, which, wasn't, we didn't really have that in Chicago. So it was really cool to kind of like, we got a little bit closer in Chicago or in Edmonton, sorry. But yeah, hopefully that kind of answers the question a little bit.
Yeah, well, we saw they had the Oilers had Duncan Keith at the game the other day wearing the jersey.
Oh,
and
nice.
That still just does not look normal to anybody here in Chicago. It's like, that's going to be one of those things like in 10 years, we're going to forget that actually happened.
Remember that?
That's right.
Yeah.
He did play for the Oilers.
Yeah.
We want to pick your.
Okay. I thought Dunks played like he was good. He was really good for us in Edmonton that year too. And I think that's almost sometimes maybe what you might need a little bit. Like I was thinking about this one day where I'm like, man, maybe he was like, he could do whatever he wanted in Chicago and nobody would have told him otherwise, right? And then now you go to a place like Edmonton where it's like there's a lot of media in Chicago, but obviously in Canada it's almost like even different level. And like expectation and things like that. And I really thought he played like really, really well. Like you could just tell he was almost like sharper where, maybe in Chicago he just felt like he, could kind of do whatever. But yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Well, I think that's natural too because like he came here, he was already pretty established when the Hawks got good and he was already great. So you win 3 cups and you're like, whatever, you do whatever you want for the rest of your career here. And you're right. Like there was no questioning Duncan Keith or Seabrook or Taves or Kane. And I think we saw it too when Patrick Kane got traded to the Rangers. It was the first time he'd ever really been critiqued as a player where like the media was calling him out and people were saying he wasn't doing good enough. Like, I don't think he experienced that at all in his time here in Chicago. So it's interesting to see how those guys react when put in a situation like that. And it's interesting you mentioned that about Keith because not that I don't think you're saying that he wasn't putting out 100% effort every game. Of course he was. He plays 25 minutes a night or whatever it was. But that's an interesting thing I never thought about is that, hey, maybe some pressure is a good thing to kind of get you feeling excited again or motivated again, if anything.
Yeah, just that little bit of a change of scenery, right? Doing things a little bit different. Just, I don't know. It's like freshness. And that's what I almost like. I try to kind of keep that in my life because I'm someone who gets like very like bored in a way easily, like it doesn't take me very long to get used to something. And that's where me and Dunks kind of really connected was, on equipment and sticks, because I'll use something like I kind of have one curve that I know, like I've used this pattern for my whole career, dating back to junior and when I was 14 years old. So I know it inside out, and it just like, I can't do the same thing coming to the arena every day and use the same stick and go through the same practice. And it's like Groundhog Day, and for me, that's where I'm like, I got to switch things out. Like I got to use a different stick in practice. I got to keep the game fresh and like fun for me. And that's what something like that, a move, as much as maybe people like might not want to see someone go or whatever. Sometimes when you see free agents like change teams like that, it's got nothing to do with like, like that they didn't like they always think, oh, he didn't like the coach or he didn't like the GM or organization. Maybe he just wants to change. Maybe he wants to wake up and see green grass instead of skyscrapers,
Yeah.
or 10-foot high snowbanks in Edmonton.
Yeah, fair enough. What's up? What's next for you? I know you were with Charlotte last year. Are you continuing to play, or what's the plan for you going down the road here?
Yeah, man, I don't really know at this point. I think I wanna continue to play. I don't want to play in the American League. I'll tell you that. It's just a lot of you deal with a lot of kudos to guys who play there for a long time in their career, and it's nothing against the league. When you get used to playing in the NHL, you get used to a certain level,
Yeah.
and when the level really drops down, sometimes people almost associate you with that level, and it's hard to distinguish, I guess. How do I want to say this? It's just hard to play almost at a slower pace. You're expecting the pass now, and you get it 1, 2, 3, and then it's already gone and it gets intercepted. And for me, it's been hard, man. It's been a hard transition to come back down and get. You would think it would be almost easier, but it's harder because guys aren't in the spots that they're in the NHL, and you expect the guy to be open and he's standing in the corner over there, and so it's kind of funny, man, really. And yeah, I don't really know. Am I in a position where I feel like I want to play, and I'd love to get together with my brother and play on the same team with him, maybe over in Europe or something like that. I'm not really sure. I'm kind of just weighing things up. Do I have to play? No, it's going to be more of down to if I still want to and if I want to have fun. And let me tell you guys, you get really for me, I've been through a lot of the political side. Went through it in Chicago, went through it in Detroit, then again in Edmonton, and then even this past year, I go on PTO to Carolina. I had a very good exit meeting with Brindamore, and those guys were kind of hoping, hey, they didn't have American League teams, so hey, see if you can figure something out on your own. We'll keep you in the loop or whatever. And then it's just you don't hear anything from them, and kind of false promises, things like that. So, not saying that they promised me anything, but it's just things like that where I'm you know what, you're kind of. I don't even like to use the word grinding, because I don't feel like I'm grinding. I'm playing in, I played in Charlotte and got to play golf every day and do this content. And this is where I really, got to work on these things. So I feel like things are meant to be for a reason, right? But long story short, we'll see, man. I don't really know where I'm at as far as playing, but I really want to get back and just have some fun with the game again, and not have it be about, this person was drafted here, so he's ahead of you, and contracts and this and that. It's man, whatever I sign, let's go play and just enjoy playing hockey,
All right, well, we're going to save the Duncan Keith story for your page, but I want to give you the floor. Is there a Hawks story you haven't told yet that you want to share with our audience here?
Oh,
you have millions and millions of Hawks fans listening.
Okay, listen to this one. I got one for you guys that just come on the top of my head. So, in the practice facility, right? We used to have what was it called? Fifth third.
Fifth third. Yep.
Yeah. So, they have these scanners on the building. So to get in, it's got a little thing like this. You put your finger on there, you scan into the building. So you can go at any time during the day. The old Yager story? He would go open up and go shoot pucks at friggin' 1 a.m. on the ice. Well, during that time, I would start to do some late workouts. I was living in a hotel, Residence Inn off Walton, right across from the Drake. And I'm man, I'm, sitting here, not doing nothing. Let me drive to the arena. So drive over, you kind of go mess around, whatever. And so one night, I took my buddy Logs with me. So shout out to Logs. And so I'm let's, instead of sitting here, let's go over there. Let's go in a hot tub and stuff. Let's go fuck around a little bit. And, they have ping pong and shit there. So we go in kind of later on the day. This wasn't like late night. It wasn't around like 10 or something. It was still maybe 6 or 7. And so I say to him, we kind of get in our shorts and stuff, go in the hot tub, and I say to my buddy, like, oh, you gotta go in the cold tub and stuff. So he goes in the cold tub, first ever time in there. And they had the Blackhawks. I wonder if they still got it. I would believe so. It's this bath. It's a bath. Imagine a bath on wheels, and it has these little jets like this, like in it, and it flows an electrical current through the water up your legs, and is like a stim. So it stims your muscles where it does this through the water. Like one of these things. They had 2 of them, one at the practice and one at the game, and I think they were like 25, 30 G's each. And so I've never used this thing before. We're trying to figure out how to get it going. And we're filling this thing up with water. My buddy gets in, and he's like this. And so next thing you know, I kind of get in the hot tub. My buddy's still sitting in the bathtub. And at this point, he ripped all his stuff off. He's naked sitting in the bathtub. Sure enough, Stan opens the door, and because he heard us, having fun, laughing in there. So he opens the door and comes in, and he's like, oh, hey, what are you guys doing in here? We're just chilling, blah, blah, blah. We kind of make small talk. And my buddy didn't know who the hell he was, right? So he closes the door. He said, all right, have a good night, guys. And quickly my buddy gets up. I'm talking, sorry to paint a picture here for you guys, but his friggin' dong and his balls are hanging out. And he opens the door back up. And he goes, hey, can you come back here for a second? Call Stan back in. And I'm talking, he's butt-ass naked. He goes, you wouldn't happen to know how to work this bath thing here, would you? And Stan's in there my buddy's full-on naked, and he's trying to get the GM to figure out how the hell this bath thing works. Oh, my God. I just about, pissed myself laughing after he left the room. It was so funny. Honestly, as soon as he left the room, I said, Lokes, you know who that was? That was the fucking GM. We were dying laughing. Yeah.
Oh, he's comfortable in his own skin. Good for him.
Yeah.
And he didn't. I thought for sure it was ending with electrocution. And it was a story of how your friend died at the Fifth Third Arena.
I was waiting to hear how the lights flickered. And,
exactly. All right, man. You've been super generous with your time, Brendan. We appreciate it. More stories like that on Brendan's YouTube page. It is in our chat comments. It's in the description here. So as soon as we're done, in about 24 minutes, go check out Brendan's page as well. And hey, man, if you ever want to promote anything, you know how to get in touch with us. We'd love to have you back. And if you find yourself just hanging out watching hockey this season and you got some thoughts, let's do it.
And if you want to, if you're in Chicago, you want to go to Fifth Third, we're right down the street.
Yeah, we'll break into Fifth Third together.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll show you around the place.
Yeah, see if your thumbprint still works.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm sure Connor Bedard will be there shooting pucks no matter what time.
Yeah, we'll have to
there.
drag Bedard out of there. Exactly. All right, man. Thanks a lot. That's Brendan Perlini. Follow him on Twitter at BUBZP11. Thanks, dude. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, boys. Thanks again.
Thanks, Bren.
That was awesome. Good stuff from Brendan Perlini. Yeah, check out his YouTube page. I didn't want to spoil all the stories he put on there. The Duncan Key story is great. The Taves story is great. Lots of good stuff on there. So hopefully we get to chat with him again soon. But we are way behind on our ad reads here, and my document closed. So I'm stalling because
that's how long we've been waiting to do these reads.
I'm a professional.
Yes.
There we go.
I think it's
Illinois pork producer.
Delicious
It is
pork.
grilling season. Get your pork. I love that sentence. That's it. Let's get that on a shirt. Get your pork. Speaking of Brendan's friend,
I was just saying, we just got our pork 5 minutes ago.
People who are active need more protein than the average American. In fact, the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, Dietitians of Canada, and the American College of Sports Medicine recommend 1.2 to 2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight per day for athletes, depending on training. So for a 150-pound person, that's about 81 to 136 grams of protein per day. 1 3-ounce serving of pork provides 3 grams of high-quality protein that can help active individuals build and preserve muscle. The International Society of Sports Nutrition recommends that people who are involved in a general fitness program or who are involved in optimizing their health eat low-fat, high-quality sources of protein, which also include lean cuts of pork. Elevate your protein game with lean pork, a powerhouse of natural goodness. Savor the flavor, savor the gains, and celebrate any occasion by enjoying the best pork produced by Illinois pig farmers. From your sausage and bacon for breakfast to pulled pork or juicy chops hot off the grill, it's an entire season dedicated to pork and the people behind the product, paid for by the Illinois pork producers' generations of commitment.
And delicious pork.
Yes, sir.
Hey, last night I went to my first Cubs game of the season.
How'd that go?
Game sucked, but you know what? It was a beautiful night in Wrigley Field, most beautiful ballpark there is. And it made me think, like, man, I got to get back here as many times as I can this summer before hockey starts up again and the social life goes bye-bye. And I know where I'm going to go next time I want to go to a Cubs game. I'm going to go visit our friends over at Game Time. Game Time is an authorized ticket marketplace for Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch. So hop on the red line, and when you get off the Addison station, pull up the Game Time app, and by the time you get to the front gate, right there under the big marquee, you'll have your tickets, and you'll have a low price guaranteed as well. So if you find that ticket or that section on any other of the inferior ticket apps, they will match that price and refund your money. Looking at the Game Time app right now, you can get into tomorrow's beautiful Saturday afternoon matinee at Wrigley Field for as low as $41.
Damn.
Jay, you're a big Megan Thee Stallion fan, aren't you?
100%.
Yes. And do you like her music?
Indeed, I do. I don't know what else you'd be referring to.
She is playing the United Center tonight. You can get into that concert on Game Time for $27.
Damn.
That's a deal. And they already have Bears home opener tickets on sale, even though I didn't think those tickets were available yet. But according to Game Time, you can get in to see Caleb Williams' NFL debut for $207. That seems reasonable
low for now.
I mean, that might actually just be to sit in your car in the parking lot and listen on the radio.
It's a parking ticket.
But I'm guessing that price is probably going to skyrocket as we get closer to the date.
I would think so.
So maybe jump onto that. And as an added bonus for all first-time customers, if you download the Game Time app and use the promo code CHGO at checkout, you're going to get $20 off that first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code CHGO. That's me spelling it out for $20 off. Download the Game Time today. Last-minute tickets. Lowest price guaranteed. Try the ribs.
Ready for my NHL hot take of
Sure.
the day? Rod Brindamore, A to B coach. I don't believe that. I just wanted to have a hot take for today.
I mean,
but once again, the Carolina Maple Leafs, the darlings of the preseason.
Listen, I don't know how many times teams are going to think Freddie Anderson is the goalie that lead you to the promised land. Had the Rod Brindamore decided to go with Peter Kochetkov for that entire series, they're the ones waiting for the Panthers or Bruins in the Eastern Conference Final right now.
That's interesting.
Freddie Anderson was good. He made some really good saves in that series. But there was at least one goal in every game of that series where you're like, oh, you got to make that save.
That's and in a playoff series,
you can't let those in.
That's fatal.
And he had at least one in each game where you're like, come on, man.
Well, I mean, look, like the parallels to the Leafs, super talented roster.
Yeah, I mean, the difference is they've actually won multiple rounds, but they can't get, get to the Stanley Cup final. They made a conference final once or twice under Brendan Perlini.
Yep, twice.
But they can't get over the hump. Maybe just like the Maple Leafs, maybe they're just not as good as people think they are.
Well, you made a good point the other day when we were talking about them and the fact that they have to play. They don't have to, but they play a very intense, a very defensively focused, a very demanding system for 82 games. And that's the difference that gets them. And look, their roster is great. It is a Stanley Cup caliber roster, so I'm not downplaying the talent on the team. But I do think when you're doing that for the better part of 82 games, when you get to the playoffs and everybody's playing that way, if that's your like main advantage,
Yeah.
it kind of goes away. And I do like that this year they went out and they got Kuznetsov and Gensel around the trade deadline, so they were kind of a little bit out of character and going for it and making moves, trying to get over the hump, and it just wasn't enough this year. I don't know. I still think Brendan Moore is a great coach.
I wonder if this is going to be the last. This was their last chance because they've got a ton of free agents. This is their RFAs: Seth Jarvis, Martin Necas, Jack Jury, Dylan Coughlin. I think Jarvis, Necas, and Jury will all be back. These are their notable UFAs: Teuvo Teravainen, Jake Gunsel,
Future Hawk,
Jordan Martinhook, Stefan Nason, who I'd love on the Blackhawks.
Yep.
Brady Shea, who I'd love on the Blackhawks. Brett Pesce, who I'd love on the Blackhawks. Tony DeAngelo, who I want nothing to do with any NHL team, let alone the Blackhawks. Jalen Chatfield, a guy I wouldn't mind if we talk about that 6th, 7th guy. That could be the guy that fills that role.
Sure.
He's a nice mobile defenseman. And then Antti Ranta, talk about needing a veteran backup. Maybe that's your plan there. So maybe all those guys come to Chicago and the Blackhawks make the playoffs next year.
The Hawks are the Hawks are the Thrashers, as the Thrashers were to the Hawks.
We used to call the Hurricanes and the Panthers Blackhawks South. Maybe Blackhawks become Hurricanes North.
Got to hire he who shall not be named again because it's one of the few teams he'll deal with.
Well, one of the few
and
teams
he knows
that
how to
would deal
operate the
with
hot
him.
tub.
Perls owes like $4, I think.
I don't think he knows. We'll tell him
He didn't
next
know.
time.
Yeah, we'll get him. We'll get him next time.
Yeah, I mean, and kind of like Perlini was talking about too, like maybe you just need to mix things up a little bit. Like the thing about Carolina is they've had the same dudes for a long time.
It's the same thing with Toronto.
Yeah.
Like how many? What's Einstein's famous quote? Repeatedly
The
doing the
insanity
same
thing,
thing
yeah.
over and over again and expecting a different result. That's the definition of insanity. You may have to they're going to be forced to make some changes because you're not going to be able to bring all those guys back.
Well, and look, like even when you look at the Hawks dynasty, like yeah, of course you had Kane Taves,
core.
Keith Seabrook, Hossa Sharp, but the other parts around that changed a lot.
Christopher Stieg was part of 2 cups, but he went away and came back.
Right.
Brad Richardson was a part of one.
Anton Vermette, Michael
Handzus.
Handzus, Johnny Oduya, like they brought in key parts to change the makeup and fill in the gaps that were missing.
Let's not forget the contributions of Andrew Desjardins and
yes,
or Desjardins as he pronounced it the American way.
Desjardins.
Still bummed that he wore 69 in San Jose and they wouldn't let him do it here.
That's not surprising.
So lame.
I mean, they will cover up a sexual assault, but you can't wear number 69.
But
Not nice.
yeah, I don't know. Carolina, man, I was at the Cubs game last night, and I'm like, oh, they're up 3-1 in the third. Sweet. This is going to go in Game 7. I'm trying to think of some creative tweet to laugh at the Rangers as they blow this 3-0 series lead. And then I look back, and it's 4-3, and I'm like, what the F? Chris Kreider, give me a break.
At some point, we're going to have to admit that he is good and the Rangers are good.
You can. I'm not. I don't have to admit shit, pal.
All right.
I'm not doing nothing.
I'm still like
When the Panthers
Chris
served them
Kreider
their
scored
lunch.
50 goals. What the hell?
Yeah, but we all said everybody said that was a fluke. 27 of them were on the power play.
It doesn't matter. They went in.
I know.
We're not.
He's
if
great.
Freudian slip. If Connor Bedard has 27 power play goals, we're not going to be upset about it.
No.
That sounds great.
Because he doesn't play for the Rangers.
Oh my lord. Hey, a little bit of breaking news here, by the way. Elliot Friedman, try the ribs, is saying that Craig Berube and his massive Berubes are, quote, far down the road on the process of becoming the Maple Leafs' next head coach.
That's one of the least surprising
I know.
things. The worst part about that is if it happens is then Numbnuts from TNT can say that he had that scoop first. But that's...
You got to be more specific.
Captain Numbnuts
Oh,
over there.
Captain Numbnuts. All right. Salute.
That's the least surprising move because what do you do when you get from a first-time coach? I would call Sheldon Keefe I don't want to say lenient, but not a hard ass. So what do? You bring in the Stanley Cup winning hard ass. You go opposite. It's the Bears formula. Hire a defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
Nope, that didn't work. Hire an offensive
Yeah.
coordinator. That didn't work. Nope, we're hiring a defensive coordinator again. It's just the way it goes. So,
I do think there maybe was a little bit of that with Keefe a little bit, where I don't want to say they didn't respect him, but it's not a guy, like you said, that's going to come and strike fear. And I think that's probably poor wording, but he's going to demand respect. And just like Perlini said about Dave Tippett and Rick Tocchet, those guys demanded respect. Whether or not they were the greatest coaches in the world at the time or not, it didn't matter because they had played the game. They had built up a respectability. Obviously, Colton had done that, and I think it's fair to say that Sheldon Keefe didn't have that.
No.
Like, it's such a weird hire for them when you gotta, like, you're a team ready to win. That's not when you try out a new coach.
Again, it was Kyle Dubas having "I'm smarter than everybody else" syndrome. I'm the young hotshot GM. I'm going to bring in the young hotshot coach that won in the AHL. This is a different league.
Well, see, but I wonder, though, because how many stories have we heard since he left that, like, Shanahan was the guy kind of blocking and forcing?
Right. Well, who knows? I mean, they had to agree on that at some point.
You would think.
I don't know whose idea it was, but someone.
But if Brendan Shanahan suggests something to me, I'm going to say yes. You will kill me.
Well,
you are Brendan Shanahan.
That and the fact that he's my boss, what choice do I have?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
He can overrule me.
Exactly.
We'll see. I mean, Perubi to Maple Leafs, that makes sense. Does he make much of a change? Is he going to get Mitch Marner to play like Ryan O'Reilly? Probably not. Is he going to get, these guys all of a sudden?
No, he's not coaching the Blackhawks. He's coaching the Leafs.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Woo!
Is he going to get William Nylander to all of a sudden become a physical force out there? I doubt it. It's not his game. But we'll see. The guys won a Stanley Cup. You don't do that by accident.
No. Even though I would argue that Blues team was a fluke.
Well, they've proven it since then, but they still won a Stanley Cup. Thanks, Bruins, for nothing.
As always.
But
I just think that the best coaches to me, it's not about teaching guys to be something they're not. It's about finding out what your guys are good at and putting them in a situation to succeed. However, if the team is built out of guys that are all the same and can only do one thing, that also creates a problem for the coach, because then what you have to do, and we saw that a lot with the Hawks this year. Again, no blame to Luke Richardson here, because they had so many injuries and they're not going to go long-term on any deals, so you kind of had to piecemeal things. That's why there's still some questions about Luke Richardson's ability as a coach, but we just don't know yet. He hasn't had like a true roster that is designed to be a team that competes.
Right.
And hopefully we get something resembling that this summer.
Be there for 82 games.
That too, yes. So hopefully that changes this summer. It sounds like they're at least leaning in that direction, so we can start to get a more, valid and fair look at what Luke Richardson is as a head coach.
Absolutely. And then the other game last night, we had the Canucks.
Thank you once again for not having overtime and letting me get to bed early.
Don't ever leave the room with less than 2 minutes to play in that series.
Vancouver was awesome last night.
Yeah.
They beat the Oilers' ass for 60 minutes.
They definitely did, and they have found a way to shut down Connor McDavid. It's 1 point in this series?
I think that's right, yeah.
Not even a ton of shots. Good luck trying to do that for 2 more games. I still think the Oilers win this series.
I keep thinking that, though. I keep thinking, this is the game. McDavid's going to come out and just shoot the hell out of the puck and go crazy.
You probably go back to Stu Skinner here for Game 6. Maybe that 2 games away is what he needed. A la Corey Crawford watching Scott Darling for a couple of games and coming back. Yes, Crawford had the pedigree and had won before and all that, but you got to go back to Skinner now, right?
Well, see, I forget who I was hearing say this, that they thought they should have gone to Skinner yesterday, because now what you're doing is you don't go back to Skinner until now you need him to not lose, as opposed to if you put him in yesterday. Let's say this. Skinner starts yesterday, and again, this is hindsight 2020, of course, and I did not say this yesterday, so shame on me. But you start Skinner yesterday, and they lose, fine. Then you go back to Pickard. But if you start Pickard yesterday, as they did, and you lose, now you are forced to start Skinner in a must-win game.
Well, if you don't believe he can win a must-win game, then what's he even doing there?
Well, we have a common theme running between these games we've talked about so far.
Yeah.
We'll see. I think Vancouver's winning this series. they just look like a better team. And whenever you have 97 out there, he can change a series in the blink of an eye. But I think Vancouver's been a better team throughout the series.
Well, I think McDavid's going to be hearing all the chatter about how he's been shut down.
Yeah.
And he's going to say, okay, watch this.
We'll see.
And have that 5-point game in Game 6. And then you get to a Game 7, anything can happen.
Yeah. We'll get to the other ones here. We got some cards to flip over today, too. But, hey, pre-order your Quinn Hughes Stanley Cup bobblehead at FOCO. Actually, I don't think that's available yet. But you can get fitted out in the best sports gear around. They've got hoodies, shoes, signs, banana hammocks, bobbleheads, and everything in between for you at FOCO. Whether you're a basketball fan or a hockey fan, show off your love with team-branded friendship bracelets. Whether it's jackets, beachwear, or even overalls, there's something for fans for almost every occasion. Our set decorations here, we've got a whole bunch of these come from FOCO. I can't see over the bucket. Is Little Bedard out there today? No. We have our Bedard bobblehead is from there, the Stan Mikita combo. Great stuff. Check out FOCO.com or click the link in our description for more info. For all non-presale items, use the promo code CHGO10 for 10% off at FOCO.com.
Hey, and if you're looking to save 30% on your dry cleaning bill, well, I've got an easy solution to accomplish just that. Switch to CD One Price Cleaners. Other cleaners, they're going to charge you a different price for every garment type. Plus, they'll have upcharges. You may pay a different price each time you visit. Well, at CD One Price Cleaners, you ready for this?
Yes.
They charge one low price for any garment. So it's not like it's just like from Wayne's World, not just a clever name.
Clever name, yeah.
Yes, even your sports jerseys are the same one low price. CD One Price Cleaners has your orders ready the same or next day. Other cleaners may take 2 to 4 days before they have your clean garments ready. And by then, I've forgotten that I owned it, and I've already went on Amazon and bought a replacement. So they also have a wide variety of services: dry cleaning, wash and fold, laundry, blankets and comforters, tailoring and alterations, leather cleaning for Jay's chaps, and area rug cleaning. Visit chgo.cdone.com. The link is also in the description below. Once there, you can pick from an in-store coupon or an online pickup and delivery coupon options. Check them out.
All right, Sarah Volley, 12 minutes ago, says Craig Berube will be named the 41st head coach of the Maple Leafs. Expect an announcement soon. Kevin Weeks says that both Jay Woodcroft and Sheldon Keefe are among the 2 remaining finalists for the Devils job. The carousel
Retreads,
keeps
man.
going around.
I mean, are there no coaches in the AHL or in college that deserve looks?
Jeremy Colleton.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing.
We got a $4 super chat from Cricket, who is covering Brendan Perlini's tab for mentioning he shall not be named.
He wasn't even wearing a bandana either. Like
Exactly. Thank you for that, Cricket. All right, we got 2 games
also,
tonight.
wait, before we go,
oh, sorry.
I saw earlier in the chat we got to wish a happy birthday to Bijan. It's his birthday today.
Bijan and Lucas Reichel.
Yeah, one of our
birthday twins.
One of our longtime regular chatters. I believe someone said it was his birthday. So
He did.
Happy birthday,
happy
Bijan.
birthday, buddy. Thank you for listening as much as you do. We appreciate that.
All right, 2 games tonight. Panthers at Bruins at 6. Stars at Avalanche at 9. Do we have games 7 coming up in either of those series?
We're seeing 2 sets of handshakes tonight. Both
I'm with
series
you.
are donezo.
I agree.
I think the Avs and the Bruins both shot their best shot in last game. Panthers, as we listened to Paul Maurice the other day, they're not worried.
Not at all.
And the Stars, back home, right? No, it's in Colorado.
In Colorado.
It is in Colorado, but they're just so deep.
Yeah.
And Colorado's missing players. Trennan's not going to play tonight. That's one of their depth guys. One of their guys that could play physical, get in on the forecheck. It's just as good of a team as Colorado is. Sometimes it's just not your year, and I don't think this is their year. And it's funny because I think back of that when we were in the DNVR bar talking to Megan and Jesse.
Yes, sir.
The night before they raised their banner, and we remember telling them, enjoy this.
Yep, you
'cause
never
you
know.
might think you're going to win 50 in a row, and then one day you're sitting there going, man, those were the good old days. I don't want to say that their window is completely closed, but, man, you got to say if they do, in fact, get bounced in the second round, winning a Stanley Cup, losing in the first round, and then the second round, disappointment. But you also got to remember 2011 Blackhawks, first round. 2012 Blackhawks, first round.
Yep.
And then Cup. Should have been a Cup.
Yeah.
So you never know.
Yep. Nothing's over, but you never know. I saw a guy in a Philadelphia Flyers based basketball jersey. He was at 31st and Halstead.
Is it Lollapalooza this weekend?
I don't know. And I was like, man, the Flyers, it's a cool franchise. It's been a long time since they've won shit. They have been relevant.
Almost.
They have been good. I would say for most of my life, they've been a good team with really good players and have never won a cup in my lifetime. So it's not easy, and Hawks fans know that too. It was 61 years between cups for the Hawks. So, no, not 61 years.
59.
It was 59 years. It was 1961 was.
yeah.
Okay, let's do some cards. Want to do some cards?
Let's do some cards.
All right.
Sure, let's remember some guys.
Let's remember some dudes and some guys and some players.
Guys and dudes.
There's Eddie
favorite
Olczyk.
musical.
That is the
Maple
upper deck Maple Leaf Eddie Olczyk. I kind of like those
I do like those uniforms.
with the white arms and the thick white stripe on the pants.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, those are nice
That's
looking.
90s.
The
for
Leafs,
man.
by the way, say what you want about them. They've always got solid unis. Am I flipping this one?
They're good.
Sure.
Yeah, I wonder what football team is going to steal their look for their special uniform next year.
There you go.
Yeah, Eddie Olczyk with the Maple Leafs. Pretty good numbers with the Leafs. His 4 seasons there, 257 games, 116 goals, 267 points. I think we forget that Eddie Olczyk was a pretty damn good hockey player.
Yes, he was. Very,
That's it,
very
let's
good.
go.
Next,
Hell yeah.
Who the hell is that?
Joel Otto.
Ooh, that my friend. I love that.
That's a
picture,
cool
too.
card.
Yeah, bubble gum.
If you're listening to the podcast, it's Joel Otto pregame warm-ups in the red Calgary Flames uniform, blowing a very nice bubble, getting ready for the game.
Good
And
wet hair.
Joel
Get the
Otto
spiky
jumps
hair.
back into my memory because last week I did something stupid, and I bought myself a Nintendo 64. And I found the
Doesn't sound stupid at all.
Olympic Hockey 98, which was the Olympic version of Wayne Gretzky 3D hockey. And Joel Otto is Team USA's fourth-line center in that
Man,
game. And
Joel
he
Otto-
is slower than shit.
The year the Calgary Flames won the Stanley Cup, 1989, he was a stud with 16 goals and 19 points in 22 games, helping him and Joe Nieuwendyk were the 1-2 combination there back in 1989.
Yeah, really good player.
11 years with the Leafs, or with the Flames, and then final 3 seasons with the aforementioned Philadelphia Flyers. Maybe that was him in the basketball jersey.
There you go. Yeah, it might have been. I'm trying to center this for you, Law. I'm sorry.
It's all good.
I don't want a Kyle Davidson situation.
No, it's all good.
All right, let's do a couple more because we got to get out of here.
Okay.
Who's next? Yoink.
Ugh.
No.
Dino Cicero.
We talked enough about him.
We're not
Goodbye.
talking about him 2 days in a row. Get
Yeah,
lost.
you're gone.
Beat it, weirdo.
Andy Moog.
Andy Moog.
Moog, man.
Andy Moog.
Like the funky
Keyboard
situation.
Was he? Did he win a Stanley Cup?
Talk about
He was
remembering
a
a
3-time Stanley Cup
Damn.
winner. He was the backup for a lot of those Oilers teams.
That'll do it.
Yeah, he was. He was on the Oilers during the 80s. Did play more. I believe he was the one that took over after Grant Fuhrer, but he, had some one of Jennings trophies with the Bruins. And let's see here. How many cups? All with the Oilers. And was always the backup. Did get
There
some
you go.
playoff time in, but yeah.
All right, let's do. Here, I'm going to cherry pick, all right?
All right.
Let's do one more. I'm going to cheat.
Oh, boy. Now I've
Eh.
got the wrong screen up here.
Yeah. Yeah.
By the way, you guys said
Yeah.
59 years. It's 49 years between cups. I don't know why I didn't say that out
49,
loud earlier, but
right.
someone in the chat
Whatever.
reminded
We're not
us
here
of
'cause
your
of our
bad
masks.
Are we
nose.
centered?
Yes.
Shh. Tilt.
I
There you
can't
go.
see
There you
the
go.
name.
Dave Manson.
Dave Manson. Yep.
About as tough and scary as hockey players get.
Such a great looking card.
I would never mess with him. I mean, he's such a badass that he had Mike Keenan running for his life. And Mike Keenan, at least on paper, comes off as a tough guy. Maybe he was exposed a little bit there, but if Dave Manson's on skates coming after me, I'm going in the opposite direction as fast as humanly possible.
So here's an excerpt from my book, The Big 50, The Men and Moments That Made the Chicago Blackhawks. This is a quote from Jeremy Roenick. Keenan had determined that Manson was responsible for everything wrong with the Blackhawks that night. Manson had his skates unlaced and his jersey off when Keenan began unloading on him with his verbal barrage. Manson snapped. He stood, yanked off his shoulder pads and flung them across the locker room, just missing Keenan as he ducked out of the way. That was merely the first salvo of Manson's attack. As the pads were launched, Manson began running in his skates directly at Keenan. Keenan fled out the door with Manson on his tail. We all scurried to the door to witness the outcome. You can imagine how fucking comical it was to see Keenan sprinting down a hallway in the bowels of the stadium with Manson in determined pursuit. As he chased Keenan, sparks were leaping off his skate blades as he ran across the cement. If Manson hadn't lost his balance while trying to run on skates, he might have pummeled Keenan. That's awesome.
I mean, you do have a speed advantage on concrete with a guy in ice skates.
I would hope so.
Yeah,
but the visual of Dave Manson, first of all, chasing anyone, it's like a scene in Halloween where you just look up and there's Michael Myers in the window. But yeah, Dave Manson was a scary, scary dude. He had that wide-eyed stare, and he was big and he was physical and he could fight like probably a better hockey player than he gets credit for. Had him like a cannon of a shot. Josh Manson's dad. Dad. Okay, I wasn't sure if it was dad or uncle. But yeah, Dave Manson was a really good player.
Yeah, Josh Manson is a tough guy to today's standards.
Yeah,
but he is not. He's nowhere near as scary as his old man.
No.
Two-time Blackhawk.
Yep.
Dave Manson.
Number 3 and number 22, I believe, were his numbers in Chicago.
3, definitely the first time. Couldn't wear it the second. 22. Also wore 8.
I have a problem.
When he first came back, and then switched it to 22. What trades was he involved in real quick before we go? 91, he was traded with a third-round pick to the Edmonton Oilers for Steve Smith. That worked out pretty well.
Good deal. Love Steve Smith.
And that third-round pick was used to draft Kirk Maltby, who ended up playing a lot of games for the Red Wings, and we see it quite a bit in the press box. He's a scout for the Red Wings.
Yep, right at the top of the stairs.
Always get out of the way, jerk. And then he returned to Chicago from the Montreal Canadiens as part of the big Jocelyn Thibault trade.
Oh, yeah.
It was Dave Manson with Brad Brown and Jocelyn Thibault for a 4th-round pick, Jeff Hackett, Elaine Nazardine, and Eric Weinrich.
Oh, Wino.
Eric Weinrich was a hell of a hockey player, too.
Yeah.
I think he played for every hockey team that ever...
Remember Brad Brown? I liked Brad Brown. Good old number 2.
I liked him better than Brent Brown.
It's a physical little, like, number 6, number 7 defenseman. He wasn't little. He was a tough dude, but he was here for a short time. But and by the way, Jocelyn Thibault was very good for the Hawks.
Love
And here's
Thibault.
a fun. He was traded again by the Blackhawks in 2000 with Sylvain Cote. Yuck. To the Dallas Stars for a 2nd-round draft pick, and Kevin Dean and Derek Plant,
I remember that.
who are now both assistant coaches for the Blackhawks.
That's crazy. Small world, hockey.
Hey, buy Jay's books.
Oh, look at that. Thank you.
It is a good book.
Thank you.
I haven't read it.
It's been in my bathroom for years. I read it a chapter at a time.
Thank you. And just tear the pages off, and you got your toilet paper. Nice 3-ply for you there. All right, we'll be back on Monday. Looking forward to it. Mailbag Monday. We'll send our tweet, Sunday or sometime Monday morning. So respond to that. Or if you're a CHGO diehard, just hit us up in the Discord chat. Wait till Sunday or Monday so we don't lose it. But we'll get to all your questions on Monday and probably Tuesday because that's how it's been going lately. Until then, please do us a favor, smash that like button, and make sure you subscribe to Brendan Perlini's YouTube page. Link in description. Lots of good stuff on there, and we thank him.
He won't send the
for
check
joining
until
us
you
on the
subscribe.
show. Exactly. All right, we'll talk to everybody Monday at 2:30 on the CHGO Blackhawks Podcast.
We all silly like the mayor.